tonight, in addition to celebrating Shabbat, we celebrate Rosh Chodesh Adar, the first day of the Hebrew month of Adar. And our tradition teaches that this whole month is supposed to be filled with joy. As the Talmud puts it, Misha Nichnas Adar Marbin Basimcha. When the month of Adar comes, every day our joy should increase. Why is that? Because it's during the month of Adar that we celebrate our festival of Purim, which is a festival that talks about deliverance. We were in a tight spot, a difficult situation, and we came out the other side whole. As we continue to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic, let's be strengthened by the memory and the consciousness that we've been in tight spots before. We've been in difficult situations before, and we've gotten through them. We will get through this situation as well. We need to keep on keeping on, taking care of ourselves and taking care of others, being safe and thoughtful about how we conduct ourselves and live our lives. But we have to have the hope and even the confidence to know that we will get to the other side whole. Shabbat Shalom and Rosh Chodesh Tov. May this month of Adar truly be filled with joy for us, for all Israel, and for our world.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We're so glad that you joined us for services, and we're ready to light our Friday night candles. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher kiddushanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Lekha ושלום, בואי ושלום, עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני ים סגולה. בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה.
The tent of Abraham and Sarah opened on all sides to show everyone, no matter where they came from or where they were going, that there was a place where they would be welcomed, a refuge from the surrounding wilderness. We Jews still open our tents on each side to show everyone, no matter where they come from or where they're going, no matter who they are or who they love, no matter what they believe or what they need, that this is a place where they would be welcomed and celebrated, a refuge from life's storms. Here we welcome all who journey in prayer, in friendship, and in community. Welcome home.
Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Blessed is the blessed one, blessed is the giver of blessing, blessed in this moment now and every now to come. Blessed is the blessed one, blessed is the giver of blessing, blessed in this moment now and every now to come. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses.
Shema Yisrael
Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
Yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 mi chamocha bailim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh doratilot o seifele מלכותך ראו בניך, כוכי הים לפני משה ומרים. מלכותך ראו בניך, כוכי הים לפני משה ומרים. זה אלי, אנו ויאמרו, אדוני מלוך, לעולם לעולם ועד. Yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 ונאמר כי פר אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גל ישראל. Yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die die die. Amen.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Hashkifenu Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkifenu L'Shalom.
V'ha'amidenu shomrenu l'chaim ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha.
Hashkifenu
Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom l'shalom
Hashkifenu
and understand friendship be life's storms.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
מי שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, מי שברך אמותינו, שרה, רבקה, לאה ורחל. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Mi sheberach avoteinu, Avraham, Yitzchak veYaakov. Mi sheberach imoteinu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
It's significant that the Amidah begins with the following. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, God of our fathers and mothers, and then invokes the names of our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah. We're grateful to them for shaping the tradition which we enjoy and respect today. This is President's Day weekend, so perhaps during the Amidah, take a moment and choose a president or two or three for whom you are grateful, for they helped shape this nation to be what it is today. Let us hope in every way that our tradition, our Jewish tradition, continues to thrive, and let us hope in every way that our nation thrives as well. The Amidah.
In honor of President's Day weekend, we've invited some of our past presidents to share some of their reflections on what it meant to serve in that leadership role at our congregation. We're grateful to them for everything they've done for our community.
I'm Pam Balton, and I felt very privileged to have been elected the first woman president of Stephen Weiss Temple in 1995.
A fond memory and proud accomplishment of mine was the establishment of the APAC at Wise movement.
I am proud of the board members who served during my term, as many went on to be top leadership at the temple.
The most rewarding experience I had as president of Stephen Weiss Temple was when Rabbi Zeldin asked me to go to Russia and adopt a Refusnik family.
As far as accomplishments during my term, the obvious answer would be hiring Rabbi Yoshi Zweiback as our senior rabbi. Hi, Yoshi.
My proudest accomplishment as Temple president was helping Wise School to thrive over the last decade through the full attention and commitment of the Wise community.
We filmed the experience, and in fact, the one we adopted ultimately was released from Russia and immigrated to Israel, which was a very rewarding experience from our side.
And I think choosing Steve Fishman as my successor, and he and I finding and encouraging Janine Kolodny, our current president, to serve, were among the most important things that happened during our term. But yes, Yoshi, you're still number one.
We ensure the Jewish future by bringing together like-minded families with the goal of Tikkun Olam.
The people I served with on the board and worked closely with as president today are our family's closest friends.
I learned that even as a big institution, we have the capacity to meet the needs of every member.
I learned the essential Jewish value of community, that we are sustained by one another to create a sense of unity and safety.
I learned everyone is entitled to their voice and opinion, and by combining different points of view, the result can be a better outcome. I was enriched by becoming a better listener.
I grew as a Jew in content and devotion. I was mentored by our rabbis and educators to be more enlightened by the meaning of Jewish life, and I am forever grateful.
I learned that our clergy team, our professional staff and lay leaders have the resiliency to overcome challenges and can create clear plans to support our members who are impacted in significant ways.
And I would say the most important thing I learned about the temple is that not only is it a spiritual home for all of us, not only is it an important community gathering place and a place of celebration, but it is also a place that is highly complex and requires a good deal of lay leadership in order to achieve its mission.
A concept I learned while I was president, or maybe I should say a concept that was reinforced to me, is that people who volunteer and donate their capital, human and financial, to causes near and dear to my heart are people I want to know and spend time with.
I'm just very fortunate that I was very much a part of that whole experience.
And I was able to work with some of the best lay leaders I've ever met.
I hope that Stephen Weiss Temple continues to compel young Jews to participate in temple activities, live Jewish lives, and raise Jewish children.
I have a wish for Stephen Weiss, that it will be a flourishing, welcoming community recognized as a thoughtful and meaningful leader, both in the Jewish and secular community, locally and nationally.
My hope is that our Wise families bond and form lifelong, meaningful relationships with one another through the multitude of programming offered, as our family did.
Our temple is going to have a wonderful future.
I hope that the Aaron Milken Center at Wise becomes the source of Jewish engagement and commitment for future generations of young Jewish families.
I'm so humbled and proud to be serving as the current temple president, and you are all an inspiration. Each of you have made an incredible mark and left a wonderful legacy through your leadership, and I know that together we will all ensure that Wise has a great future.
A prayer for the United States of America. God and God of our ancestors, we ask you to bless this nation and its peoples. Open our arms and our hearts and our minds to one another. Let us never withhold your gift of dignity from our fellow human being. Grant us the determination to preserve the wonders of creation and the steadfastness to safeguard all created in your image, male and female alike. Teach us to honor the guardians of life and liberty, whether they proudly wear the uniform of our nation or defiantly wield signs of peaceful protest. Grant us the resolve to spurn the enemies of freedom and justice, whether they brandish the weapons of fear or greed or hatred. May we remember that we can only reap the seeds of virtue, of peace and of love, by sowing the seeds of virtue, of peace and of love. Then shall justice roll down like water, righteousness like a mighty stream.
A prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu shebashamayim, Tzur Yisrael vegoalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reishit tzmichat geulateinu. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Avinu shebashamayim, deliver them and crown their efforts with triumph. Avinu shebashamayim, Tzur Yisrael vegoalo. Bless our land with peace, O God, and its inhabitants with lasting joy, and let us say, Amen, Amen. Avinu shebashamayim, Tzur Yisrael vegoalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reishit tzmichat geulateinu. Venomar Amen, Venomar Amen. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm here with Glenn Sonnenberg. He's our former temple president. He's an amateur historian, presidential scholar, and currently the publisher of a daily newsletter that graces our inboxes called Musings from the Bunker. I want to talk about Purim and President's Day. Talk about how Jews have maneuvered power in this country, have used power in this country, have related to power, and see Purim as a paradigm. Because originally, the Purim story is about how the Jews had to use subterfuge and manipulation to save themselves. Not to acquire some great wealth, but just to save their very lives. The story of Jews in America is far more complex. We rose from being a small minority, ultimately to being a people that wields a tremendous amount of power in American politics and American society. So Glenn, let's look at our presidents who were the original source for the holiday itself, Presidents Washington and Lincoln. What was their relationship like with the Jewish people?
Haran, Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for having me here. First, Washington. George Washington, first president of the country, is going to set the standard for everything. And he famously wrote the letter to the Toro Synagogue, the first congregation in North America, where he embraces the Jews. But he embraces the Jews in a way that they had not been embraced by any European leader. He speaks to them in a language they understand. He invokes the Hebrew prophets. What he says is, may the children of the stock of Abraham who dwell in this land continue to merit and enjoy the goodwill of all the other inhabitants, while every one of them shall sit safely under a fig tree and vine, and there shall be none to make him afraid. That's an amazing statement, embracing the Jews as fellow citizens and equals. Something that hadn't happened in Europe, wouldn't happen until well after the French Revolution and the time of Napoleon. Now, fast forward to Lincoln. Now, the nation is embroiled in a civil war. Grant is fighting a bloody series of battles in the West. And at one point, he realizes that there's a group of merchants that are trading with the Confederates in the Tennessee Theater. And what he says is he issues General Order number 11, and he expels all Jews from the Tennessee area. What he did was he conflated the fact that there were a lot of merchants trading with the Confederacy that were Jewish, not surprisingly, and the fact that all Jews, by definition, must be traitorous. Shortly after he does that, Lincoln says, oh no, and quickly rebukes Grant at the request of the local Jewish community. And he says, no, that's not so. While it may be so that many of these merchants are Jewish, it is not so that all Jews are merchants trading with the Confederacy.
So we move forward now to Grant, who now, after doing what he did with General Order 11, is carrying a pretty heavy burden of hostility, it would appear, towards the Jewish people. He becomes president. One would expect something less favorable, but in fact, the opposite happens. So what happens with Grant?
Well, it's really interesting because, first off, Grant does something that we don't see very many American presidents do, and that's apologize. But what Grant does do is he does something very Jewish, doesn't he? He ends up going through a series of acts of teshuvah. He apologizes publicly. He appoints more Jews to public office than all other presidents before him. He goes out of his way to attend a synagogue dedication, Washington's Adas Israel congregation, speaks before them, makes a contribution to the congregation as he leaves, and then develops a relationship with Rabbi Isaac Meyer Wise, who was one of the 4 founders of the American Reform tradition. So Grant becomes sort of what a lot of these presidents are. He starts out with one view of the Jews, and then through acts of contrition and understanding, changes completely.
Amazing, amazing. Let's go to the 20th century now and talk about Teddy Roosevelt, the American lion. Now, he's known for his love of the outdoors, but he also said the following: I should no more have a man entered on a passport as a Hebrew than as an Episcopalian or a Baptist or a Roman Catholic. In his day, that was pretty progressive, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, this was, after all, the progressive era, and we look at Roosevelt as really being one of the great leaders of that time. But that period of Roosevelt and Taft as Republicans, and later Wilson as a Democrat, really was a period of American transformation. And during that period, a number of things happened. One was Roosevelt, he was well educated. He was the commissioner of the New York Police Department. In fact, in the New York Police Department, he gives a speech where he describes the Jewish police officers as his Maccabees, right? So he's invoking Jewish history. Well, later, Wilson, also a progressive, also fueled by the writings of many muckrakers and journalists, Jewish journalists of the time, comes out and does something completely radical and nominates the first Jew to the Supreme Court, Louis Brandeis. So in some sense, he too redeems himself.
I want to pitch 2 names at you. 2 names that have surprising sides to each of them. The first one is Truman, the second is Nixon. So Truman is the hero because he establishes the state of Israel. He's party to the United States role in that. Nixon is the villain because he's anti-Semitic. But in fact, there's more to the story, isn't there?
Yeah, I think we tend to view people sort of black and white when they really are, they're people, they're gray. They're a collection of contradictions. So Harry Truman's haberdashery partner was Jewish. He's invited to the White House. The only problem is he has to be disinvited by Truman because Bess, Truman's wife, won't have a Jew in her house. I mean, think about that. So Truman also is about to concede and ask Dwight Eisenhower to become the Democratic nominee for president. And Truman wants out and says some horrible things in his diary about the Jews. And yet, when it comes to acknowledging the state of Israel, Harry Truman is right there, right up front. Now, Richard Nixon, horrible guy, right? I mean, some would say not a bad president. He says the Jews are just a very aggressive and abrasive and obnoxious personality. He is anti-Semitic, racist. We have it all on tape. He did us that historic favor. And yet his administration is loaded with Jews. Henry Kissinger is his closest confidant. And during the 1973 Yom Kippur War, when things looked very dire for the state of Israel, it was Richard Nixon who bolstered the state of Israel and sent armaments that ultimately led to its salvation. So a contradiction of two very flawed people.
Yeah, and so looking and drawing that line from Purim to today, we see that we've always been a minority people in the midst of a population that was ambivalent about us very often. But when we look at our history in this country, we've sort of seen a progression from being a small minority with very little power to being a minority, but a minority that welds and is very comfortable with assuming its power. It's the Purim story's success, if you will. Any last words, Glenn, before we say Shabbat Shalom?
Yeah, I would just say one thing, and that is that Jews they've neither been passive observers of American history, nor have they necessarily been the great leaders of major movements. What Jews have been and how they have been nominated to positions of power in this country is through their expertise and their knowledge and their commitment to making America a better place. So you look at, my best example of that is look at the Supreme Court today. Imagine the founders looking at 9 members of the Supreme Court, 3 of whom are Jewish, 6 of whom are Catholic, none of whom are the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants that founded this country. The Jews have come a long way through their expertise and their abilities.
Amazing. Thank you, Glenn, so much for sharing your wit and wisdom with us. To all who are with us, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm so glad that we've made it to Kiddush together. Hope you have a special cup handy. I actually have my Kiddush cup from my bat mitzvah, and we will make a l'chaim together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat L'chaim. Let's continue now with our concluding prayers. Aleinu l'shabeach. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tet gedula le'otzer b'reishit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kamishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kecho hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai, l'melech al kol ha'aretz, Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, ushemo echad.
A poem of memory before Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. We remember those who have died in recent weeks, and we recall those whose Yortzeit, the anniversary of whose death, is commemorated this Shabbat. May their memories forever be for a blessing. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei rechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam ulalme almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the one who makes peace in the high places make peace for us here, for all Israel, and for all humanity. And let us say together, Amen. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks to our entire clergy team and staff for making these services possible. A reminder, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., Torah study, 10 a.m. Shabbat morning services, 7:30 p.m. Havdalah. May this Sabbath be filled with joy and renewal and rest for us all. Shabbat Shalom.
Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkiveinu, Leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm.